Hello, I am 74-year-old Georgia Annwell, visual artist, painter, and producer of the documentary Senior Artists of Marin that you're about to see. I thank CMCM, which stands for the Community Media Center of Marin, for the use of their equipment and all their help in making this movie. Some brief history about senior artists. In the past, we know that Picasso did a lot of his most creative works after age 80. Frank Lloyd Wright designed the Guggenheim when he was well into his 90s. We all know that Grandma Moses took up art and became internationally known for her New England landscapes when she was a senior. In more recent years, Alice Neal painted her wonderful portraits and figures well into her 80s. Here in Marin County, thousands of seniors, not hundreds, thousands of seniors spend their days producing artwork. In fact, most of the name artists here in Marin are seniors. In my search around Marin for artists over 70, most were happy to be selected. However, I did get some indignant responses from persons I thought might qualify. More than one person insisted that she did not look old enough to be in a movie of seniors. Men were as sensitive about this as women. People sometimes laughed at me when I said that only persons who look old would qualify to be in my movie. They still laugh when I say things like older is better. At MSA, Marin Society of Artists, I regularly check volunteer hours as a condition of entering a show. Persons over 80 are exempt from work hours, and yet some will work so that people will not know they're over 80. Others will even pay for their work hours so that people won't be aware that they have disabilities with aging. When doing receiving for paintings, I try to remember how old people are so I won't have to ask. We seniors are slowing down. Yes, we often hurt a lot. Yes, we sometimes forget our appointments. But why is it we cannot accept these things? Why is it we spend our nest eggs on cosmetic surgeries and other products advertised to keep us young? I ask, why is it that we hesitate to accept our aging bodies and minds? I'm not here to defend the fact that we no longer have the strength or energy to occupy Wall Street or San Rafael. I'm here to present the fact that a lot of beautiful, wonderful art is being produced here in Marin by seniors who have difficulty seeing their subjects, lifting their sculptures, driving to exhibitions, and enduring all-nighters to meet deadlines for commissions. In tribute to Martin Luther King, I dream that one day persons of older ages will be considered equal with equal rights to freedoms, respect, and compensation. May they not be judged by their years here on earth, but by their character and the quality of their art. I repeat, may people of upper ages not be judged by their years on earth, but by their character and the quality of their art. Older people, especially in Marin, are growing in number and living longer. During our century, life expectations grew by nearly 3 decades. We have reached a time where older adults far outnumber the children. Though we seniors need more sheltered residence, public transport, and increased health care, we continue to work longer. Many of us work in the field of art. Consider me as an example. I, Georgia, no longer take days off like I did when I used to work at other occupations. The only time I take a day off from art is for self-maintenance at Kaiser. I maintain an outside studio where I paint several days a week. I lead an all-day acrylic atelier day on Mondays. I attend my watercolor group all day Tuesday. I attend my figure painting drawing atelier all day Wednesday. I put in volunteer work hours at 3 different galleries every month as a condition of entering shows. In the last 6 years, I participated in over 150 group shows, and I had 5 one-person shows. Most recently, in the year 2012, during February and March, I had a 40-painting one-person show here at CMCM. I had a show of senior artists. I learned in the production of this movie that in painting the portraits of these senior artists, I left out a lot of wrinkles. I left out a lot of bulges. I left out almost everybody's age spots. I continue to paint portraits, but now I'm trying to paint more honestly. In order to do it, I kind of have to paint people I don't know.
Hi, I'm Mary Kedash here at Georgia Annwell's one-woman show, Senior Artists of Marin, with Arlene Whiting. Welcome, Arlene.
Thank you.
This is a beautiful painting you brought with us. Can you tell me about your artwork? When did you start being an artist?
I was meant to be an artist, I think, when I was a young child, because I could draw before I could read or write. And I was selling portraits to my school chums for a nickel in grammar school.
Oh my!
But this portrait is of my grandson, Casey Whiting. And Casey's really used to being my model because I've been drawing him and painting him since he was born. So he's used to it.
Did you go to art school?
I did. I went to Otis Art Institute in Los Angeles and California College of Arts and Crafts in Oakland.
Oh, how nice.
And I graduated from there.
And so it sounds like you've had a lot of support over the years.
Yes, I did.
That's fantastic. So are you an oil painter mainly?
Yes, oil painting, yes. That's my medium. And this portrait I did on site, and I had brought my supplies with me, and I had forgotten a lot of the materials that I really was used to using. And my colors were limited because I didn't remember to bring them all. And the portrait just came out the way I liked it. And it was just a surprise to me and to him because I wasn't really prepared. And sometimes that works best for me. Having to be fast and spontaneous, get it down there and don't fuss with it. It works sometimes.
Do you paint every day?
Yes.
As a senior artist, do you find your work different from when you were younger?
Yes.
And how so?
Yes. When I was younger, I drew. I loved to draw. I called myself a draftsman. I wasn't that good with color. I did not consider myself really a colorist, and over the years that's developed.
What inspires you to paint?
My mother used to get calendars from the synagogue. We're Jewish, and those calendars had reproductions of Rembrandt paintings. Each month, a different Rembrandt painting. And I loved those calendars. And I loved Rembrandt. Really good choice, really, for a young budding artist.
So what would you say to someone as a senior citizen who might want to get started in art? What would you tell them?
Do it. Do it. What can be more stimulating, fun, meeting other artists, knowing other people with similar interests. It is fun.
What do you think holds people back from exploring their artistic side?
I think people can be timid. They're afraid they don't have the skills. But those develop. And you have to be able to put up with those awkward first attempts and not be embarrassed or impatient with yourself.
So you have to turn off that inner critic somehow.
Right.
So how would one find your painting and your art? Do you have a website?
Oh, I do. whitingart.com. I'm going to have a show very soon at Villa Marin in March. And of course, open studios are coming. And open studios are in May. And that'll be my main effort for the year.
Do you always paint for yourself, or do you do commissions where someone tells you what to paint?
Generally, I paint for myself. Once in a while, a commission comes along, which is always fun and challenging.
Do you have a favorite project that you could tell me about?
I'm very particularly fond of animals, and especially horses. And I've done lots and lots of paintings of animals and of horses, and that's drawn a lot of interest. We have a lot of horsemen, horsewomen in Marin County.
How nice. Well, thank you so much for being here, Arlene Whiting. Your painting is just gorgeous, and your grandson is beautiful.
Thank you.
And I have enjoyed talking to you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Hi, I'm Mary at Georgia Annwell's one-woman show, Senior Artists of Marin, and I'm here with Jack Carter. And I can't believe that you started your artwork at what age?
In my 70s, I guess.
In your 70s, okay. You hadn't painted before?
No, because I had no talent. I mean, I had no ability to draw. I don't know what perspective is, and I don't really care.
Tell me, what media do you work in with these pieces?
These are mostly watercolors and India ink.
And what made you pick that up, watercolors and India ink, as opposed to oils or?
The reason I'm painting watercolors now is because I'm taking classes here in Marin down at the community center on a couple of wonderful instructors. And that's what it is. It's a watercolor class. I prefer actually to paint with acrylics.
But you're just in the class right now. What's your favorite medium to work in?
I'd say acrylics would be my favorite. This I used a lot of India ink, and the way I paint, I don't have a plan. I find out that I just start. And I maybe just scratch something down, and then I keep scratching, and then pretty soon I see a leg appear, or maybe an arm, and I say, oh, okay, let's do it that way. Or just with no purpose at all, just keep painting. I think it's like jazz, the way I paint, improvisational.
Are you a musician as well?
No, I'm not, but I've been a great lover of jazz for a long, long time.
What inspires these abstract images?
Life, people. I love to, I go down to the Silver Peso, a wonderful bar in Larkspur, and I just sit there and inhale and look out the window and see people going by, cars trafficking. There's a noise, the hum of the jukebox. And actually, I'm a writer more than I am a painter.
I see that. So you wrote
that's
these
what I
things as
start with writing, and that's where I do it. And I write aphorisms, and I've written 1,000 of them.
Oh, wow.
And I produce these one-of-a-kind artist books. I've produced maybe 200 like this, and I've sold quite a few.
Where can one buy one?
There's a gallery up in Forestville called Quicksilver Mine Company. It's a wonderful gallery with an outdoor sculpture garden.
Okay.
And she, Kaisi Horn is the proprietor, and she's handled my books for maybe 15 years.
Okay, Georgia Annwell believes that you get better as you get older, and by this, I think it's true. Would you agree?
No.
And why not?
Well, I think, you know what I call success is continuation.
Uh-huh.
And I think that most people, as they get more and more experience, do too much.
Uh-huh.
I think that sometimes younger painters are more extemporaneous and quicker.
Mm-hmm.
And I work with a gentleman, I won't give his name, but I call him Mr. Slow, because it takes him 6 months to paint a little rowboat or something. And then I also object to people painting Mount Tamalpais. I think that if you're going to be an artist, you've got to be in the painting. And if you're not if you're just copying things, why bother? I mean, like why bother putting a magnificent mountain on a piece of paper? That to me is just copying. It's a form of plagiarism, in my opinion.
Well, you certainly are an original artist, and we're happy to talk to you. Thank you so much, Jack.
You're
for
welcome.
being with us.
You're welcome.
You're an inspiration.
Thank you. Okie doke.
Hi, I'm Mary Kedash here at Georgia Annwell's one-woman show, Senior Artists of Marin, and I'm absolutely delighted to be sitting here with Miss Janet Seastrom. Welcome, Janet.
Thank you.
You are a walking piece of art. You just are a visual sensation of color and art. So tell me, what inspired you to be an artist?
I don't really know. When I was around 6 or 7, I used to listen to my sister play piano. She had piano lessons. I'd listen through the window. I looked through there. And then later on, I would be able to play the same songs without lessons, by ear. And then I always loved art, and I started to, when I was younger, they said the teacher would put me in the back to do murals while the others were working.
Oh, wonderful.
And she'd send home notes of my art ability and all this stuff when I was about 7. But I never followed through in really going to art school.
Why don't you think you did that?
I don't know. I just went to high school, and for a while I took off for 2 years. I became ill.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They thought I had rheumatic fever or something, and I was put to bed for a while. And then I went to about 2 years of high school and took the Regents exams and got my degree. And then later on I went to secretarial school. And I was secretary for a while, which I didn't like. I felt like a machine.
Yeah.
And then later when we moved to New Jersey, I went to Uppsala. And then I had this thought, what am I going to take up here? Well, I just took up, I'm going to take up teaching, I guess. And then I get my artwork in there somehow, But
yeah, and there weren't a lot of options for women.
No, that's true. You're right. And in the art field, you often wonder what kind of job you would get when you're out.
Strong message that you can't make money being an artist.
That's right.
And
my father, the same way. They said, you'll starve to death if you become an artist.
Right. See, that's what we were supposed to do. So when did you paint this painting?
Well, I painted that up in Maine. When John Vigneri, the famous seascape artist, he's 90 now.
Oh my!
And he lives in Florida. And he paints the most beautiful seascapes. He's on the internet. He sold paintings all over the world. And I had a lesson from one lesson up by the ocean. Yeah.
Oh, how exciting. How did you manage to find him and get that lesson?
Well, we went up to Algonquin, Maine, just for a trip. And then we saw this gallery. And my mother and my son and we drove up for a little vacation. And we met John McNary and his wife, and that's how I got interested.
Well, how exciting. Do you paint every day?
No, I don't. I haven't had time.
Yeah?
Now, because of my friend got a memory loss.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And we've been taking care of him, trying to get him back to his home.
Right. So do you have a studio in your home?
No, I have a little garden in the front now. We moved downstairs from upstairs. See, I used to have a house, but I don't have a house anymore. I sold my house in New Jersey, overlooking the lake. It was very beautiful, very artistic place to live. And now I'm out here, and I don't think I'll ever go back to New York.
No, who needs that?
And I love California. Jack London's ranch, you know, up there. That's I go up there and want to paint that area there.
Do you feel more inspired now as a senior than you did at other times in your life?
Yes, I do.
And why do you think
Definitely.
that's so?
Because there's not these other things around that you have to do. Like and you're a senior now. And you're getting older, and you better get going and start to paint and do what you want to do.
Well, thank you, Janet Seastrom. That's wonderful advice. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, too. You're just a gorgeous person.
Well, you are, too.
Hi, I'm Marin TV here at Georgia Annwell's Senior Artist of Marin reception, and I'm talking with Jean-Guy Alban, one of Georgia's subjects for her portraits. Welcome, Jean-Guy.
Thanks.
It's so nice to meet you. You have such exciting work going on in your life, and I'd like you to tell me a little bit about it. We're sitting here in front of this fabulous wire sculpture. Can you explain to me what the inspiration was and how you came to create it?
Well, this is something that actually wasn't exactly my idea. I had a neighbor who's an interior designer in my studio, and she had this idea that she thought that, well, that I could do anything. And she had this idea for doing an installation, a two-story stairwell in an architectural space that she was working with. And so I started to make these little model of it, and everyone who came into the studio, I did many drawings of these first of all, and just to as a preface to this is that I don't work from photographs. I went to Schulenburg Park in Petaluma, which is a preserve for birds, and I observed the birds and did some sketches, and then came back and did a large big sculpture, charcoal panel of those, and then I worked from those when I made the smaller models. People came into the studio, they saw the first model that I had made. Every single person, it kind of gives me goosebumps, touched the bird as though it were alive and were about to land on their finger. And they also looked into his face and looked for eyes, which there were none, but somehow developed some sort of a rapport. And being just before Christmas, I thought I would make more of those.
Good for you.
Which I did, and sold them and took them to a gallery in San Francisco who sold all of them for a number of months. And I haven't shown for some time now, and what I'm doing now is organizing a way to do installation art. I have a background as an installation artist. I went to Cal Arts in Southern California and did environmental and participatory installations, conceptual art, and I had a show in Sausalito at the end of 2010 where I also did some large sumi drawings, and with bird faces. Everything was 3 by 5 feet of the cranes. It was crane culture, and I had also some wire birds flying around. But at this time, I developed this method. I've developed a method of creating large birds without an armature. And I did this, well, because I didn't know how to solder, though I bought all the equipment, I was afraid to use it. Several people came in my studio to try to show me how. However, I developed a method. I have a 3-foot crane also that's been in shows that I want to do more of, which showed me that I can also do species specific. And so this is part of an installation that I'm going to be installing in a gallery nearby. I want to be installing more of these. And what I like most about them is that I have to do that. I have to renew my connection with how birds are, and I do it not just by observing them, but being in their environment. And in Schulenburg Park, it's very windy most of the time, and sometimes a little red-winged blackbird, feathers are like blowing backwards, and so I wanted to do art with purpose. I didn't want to just do art for money. I mean, who doesn't need money? There's never enough money. There's no end to that. And so how would you know if you were ever, be successful with that? But if it was to do something to, to benefit birds, that I think that would be worthwhile. And so that's what I've begun to do, and it's I hope to be able to make a difference.
When did you start doing art?
I started probably when I was 3. My parents told me I could draw a chair in perspective, though parents frequently, of course, exaggerate. I then, in elementary school, friends would ask me, oh, draw a picture, let us guess what it is on a child's backboard. I would draw that. And so I would draw. I've been doing performance, and then my mother had a book that she found for chalk drawing in church. And so when I was 13, I was doing that to organ music. And so I really didn't just start now, though I've kind of resumed in a way.
And as part of Georgia's show, being about senior artists, in closing, can you tell me how your art has changed as you've grown older?
Well, in relation to what Georgia's artwork, I'm an art model in many of the colleges. This is why I can one of the reasons why I can make the bird. I can actually feel that visceral connection with the movement, and the same with with the model. And I find that having sat in classes for the last 5 years, I have my artwork has grown exponentially from what it has ever been before in my lifetime.
And tell me, how can people find your artwork? Do you have a website?
I have a website. It's my name.
And what is it?
Jonqui.com, JONQUI.com.
Okay, because I understand that you have this fascinating other way of art, doing art, performance art. Unfortunately, we're going to have to end this interview, but people can go to your website, jonqui.com.
Yes, and see the video.
And what is it called again? The live action art?
Action art, yes.
Action art.
And there's a video. It's 192 square feet in under 4 minutes.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being with us. This is Jonqui Alban, and we're here with Georgia Annwell, Senior Artists of Marin. Hi, I'm Mary Kedash at Georgia Annwell's one-woman show, Senior Artists of Marin. And I'm with Joan Nelson. Welcome, Joan.
Hi, Mary.
When did you become an artist?
About 3 or 4 years ago.
Which is incredible.
Which is incredible, yes. It was New Year's. I made a New Year's resolution. I was talking to someone on New Year's Eve, and I said, I'm going to take up art in my old age. I've always wanted to do that. And they looked at me very seriously. They said, this is your old age. So I realized that, and I had seriously been meaning to do it all my life. I had a cousin who was a talented artist, and my father, and I had just been put down as having no talent, and and I knew that Betty Edwards wrote her book in the late 70s, Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain, and I thought, I think I'll try that. But I was still inhibited.
Yeah.
So I went back to school. I got a master's and a doctorate in psychology. I became a therapist. I needed the therapy. That's what I need. I was truly traumatized into suppressing my creativity. So I made this New Year's resolution, and I got Betty Edwards' book the day after New Year's when the library opened. I read it for 2 weeks, and I've been doing this ever since, and it's kept me so young. I'm 75 years old. I remember Pearl Harbor. I am vibrant. I'm vital. I'm alive, and I know a lot of it has to do with the juiciness, the creativity of all this.
And so tell me about your art. This is watercolor?
This is watercolor.
And what inspired this?
And well, the point is that I'm downsizing. I could carry these here tonight because I started with great big things. I went from total insecurity to total bombast. And I am now downsizing. I'm moving to a smaller place. I live near Dominican. I love it. I take the OLLI classes there, Osher Lifelong Learning.
Oh, how nice.
And I had been working with acrylics for a couple of years. And I signed up for a class in watercolor at Dominican. And it changed everything. It's so much more fluid. It's just lovely. And so I've downsized to something this size because I'm not going to have any more wall space after I move to I don't know where. So this is just kind of like they come out of my head. I'll see something in a magazine or a photograph, and I'll start with that, but then I don't know where it's going to go until it's going.
And do you paint every day?
And I go with it. I haven't lately because of space problems. I'd love to. I'd love to.
What would you say to other senior citizens who think they might want to get into art but are hesitant at this late day?
Don't hesitate. Do it now.
Yeah?
Do it now.
What about all those voices saying you're no talented?
I had no idea that all of this was in me. Actually, I had a hunch, but I had no idea that I could actually manifest it. Oh, for heaven's sakes, try it.
Yeah.
I did take a couple of classes along the way, and what I did wasn't any good. I was still judging it no good.
How do you turn that voice off?
With a brush. With a brush and a canvas or some paper and some water. So this is inside a cave looking out.
Oh, it's so beautiful. What inspires you? Just whatever you see?
Just whatever I see. I'll see something that catches my eye, and that's what I start with. What I end with is nothing like what I started with, but it gives me an idea. This is a feeling of brokenness, and I have her paired up at home with another woman who is very, very frivolous and very flighty, and the contrast between them. And then this one isn't quite finished. I've got this little raccoon, and the ants are going over the rock, and I'm going to put a honey pot here.
Oh, how nice!
So I'm toying with the theme. I think that the artist has some responsibility to society. I'm just thinking about this.
Okay.
I am a worship associate at the Unitarian Church, and I give sermons, and I do stories, moral teaching stories. And I'm concerned about the world that we live in and the part that we play in that. And that's why I have a theme here. It's about humanity. This is about humanity. But I really do like whimsy, and this is whimsy.
I see. Okay. Well, I'm so sorry that we're out of time. You're such an inspiration. I can see that your art has really brought so much joy, and I think that's just so
I'm
wonderful.
really glad that Georgia invited me today.
Hi, I'm Mary Kedash, here at Georgia Annwell's one-woman show, Senior Artists of Marin, with Lorraine Almeida. Welcome, Lorraine.
Thank you.
You have a very interesting story about how you got started. Can you briefly tell me, your parents were not artists, but then what happened?
I knew no relatives in my family that were artists, and I'd never been to a gallery or a museum. But my father used to occasionally bring home one of the really high pigmented crayons that he used at the factory to mark things. And he would also bring home about 5 by 8 inch cards that were blank. And so I used to draw and color on those. But it wasn't until I married and had children, very young, and when I went to take them to preschool, I discovered all of the materials that young children could benefit by. And that meant so much to me because I gave them all of the things that they had the benefit of at the preschool. But when the 3 of them were actually in school 3 hours a day or more, I signed up for a class in Introduction to Art Media. And
how old were you when you did of that?
I was in my 20s. Yeah, by 25 I already had 3 kids. And this I painted when I was 36, and I actually had an MFA from San Francisco Art Institute by that time, and I did that while my first 3 children were teenagers. And when I received my MFA, I had a 4th child who was 6 months old.
Oh my.
So I've been very busy. But
and do you actively paint every day today?
Not every day, because I had a setback 4 years ago when I had to have spinal surgery.
Oh my.
And that set me back quite a bit.
So do you
But
paint?
I have done a great deal. This is when I was most prolific, was making cosmic paintings that were about evolution.
And what inspired that?
And this is one of them. It's really about going into the unknown, and that's why it looks as though the planet is going into the darkness. Because I feel that that's what I do. I go into the unknown. Whenever I finish a work, I have another question, and I go into it with my whole heart, my whole being. And I learned something from it. Like when I did this painting and the other one of my grandparents' wedding, these 2 paintings are currently at Gallery Route 1 because they were picked by a juror to be in a show that had about 200 applicants, and only 35, I think, were picked. And she picked 2 of my large paintings.
Now, can people find you on the internet?
They can, yes. I have a website that's just LorraineAlmeida.com. And Lorraine has 2 R's, and Almeida is ALMEIDA.
And do you feel stronger as a senior artist than you did ever before, or do you feel more inspired, less inspired?
I feel that the main problem is my body and my energy. I just keep doing the most I can. And I'm very thankful that the back surgery, the spinal surgery, was successful. But I have other issues, like respiratory issues. So. But I do as much as I can, and it's rewarding to meet people like I did here who said, "Oh, what's your name? I know that name. I've seen your work before. Where are you showing now?"
How exciting.
And when I was younger, that didn't happen because I never spent time and energy into marketing or promoting myself. I was too busy raising a family and painting. But those were my total dedication, was my family, and they're all doing very well, and I'm very proud of them now.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Lorraine Almeida. It's been a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mary Kedash at Georgia Annwell's one-woman show, Senior Artists of Marin. And I'm here with Patsy Shador. Welcome, Patsy.
Thank you.
What beautiful art you've created. Can you tell me a little bit about it?
Well, these are just creatures that are happy, and they have hearts, and they have toenails and whiskers.
And what are they made of?
They're made of polymer clay, and they're wired up and then wrapped up, and then I put sequins and sparkles.
I see that. Have you been making these your whole life?
Well, when I discovered this, I started with the dragon because I'm a dragon. So then I started with people, and I gave my friends new boyfriends, but then I got animals, and now I make animals, and I paint stools.
Have you always been an artist?
I've always played. I have too much fun.
You do? Have you always played, and as a result of your play, made art?
Yeah.
Did you paint and color, and what other things?
Everything. I like it.
I see this
I like it all.
beautiful stool. So not only do you do this three-dimensional work, but you've got this amazing paintings going on, this lovely,
There's
lovely.
Goats. There's frogs. Here's a frog drumming. This is a waterfall, and there's a kitty. I haven't quite finished it. There's a unicorn here.
And who taught you how to paint?
I taught myself.
You did?
You just play, you know, you just play. There's a beaver here. I have in Canada beavers.
You know, a lot of people are afraid, especially later in life, to start doing artwork. What would you say to them?
I just say go for it.
Yeah?
Don't care what people say, you know, it doesn't matter. It's so much fun. It keeps, you know, it keeps me solid, because if I didn't do this, I could fly away, you know.
Yeah. So you find your artwork very anchoring?
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm very lucky. I think most artists feel they're very lucky to have art to play with, because it makes you happy.
Do you find your artwork has changed over the years now that you're a senior citizen, a senior artist, as Georgia called it, as opposed to when you were a younger person?
I think my creatures have to make people happy, and I think these guys have to be happy, because they can't have a great big eagle sitting on top that's going to eat them for breakfast. So there's a lot of very well-behaved compassion there.
Where do you take your art so that people can appreciate it? To local
galleries?
galleries?
I have a few galleries. There's Marin Society of Artists, and there's MoCA, which is in Hamilton, and there's O'Hanlon in Mill Valley, and then at the county fair, which is very fun to do. I think most people should do county fair, because county fair is so much fun.
And do you have a discipline every day at a certain time? Do you
No,
paint?
I don't have any rules. I'm having so much fun. All I do is play.
Yeah?
I mean, I do have other stuff I do, but I just think it's so much fun. And I think everybody should do it, even they don't.
No matter what age. Were you encouraged as a child to be an artist?
My parents were really good about that.
They were?
Yeah. Yeah.
And what would you say to children? Do you think children should be encouraged to have a discipline of art, or?
I don't think discipline's a good word, because I think it's just wild. Do whatever you want. If you want a blue cow with, you know, whatever, you know, and just have fun. It should be fun. You should be happy.
What is your most favorite piece?
Well, I did a Sundancer, which is at O'Hanlon. He's kind of nice. And a dragon, it's the year of the dragon.
And are they sculptures?
They're these kind of things. You know, I collage the top, and I paint the legs to match, and put whiskers and hearts. I've got a little pink heart. I have a purple one, the purple heart, that I went into the bead shop, and I said to the lady, if you got any purple hearts, and she was so excited, because it's cut.
So I would say that you might say that art keeps one young.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, it certainly comes out in your eyes and your spirit.
Yeah, I have so much fun. I have too much fun. T-O-O, too much fun.
Well, thank you so much, Patsy Shador, for being with us here.
I've enjoyed that.
And you're an inspiration to me, I know, and I'm sure to everyone watching
well,
us to get out and do some art.
I hope everybody wants to do some art. Just play. Who cares?
Absolutely. You know? So that's your advice. Play. Who cares?
Just play. Who cares?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was fun. Oh, there we go. We done?
You did a great job. Hi, I'm Mary Kedash here at Georgia Annwell's one-woman show, Senior Artists of Marin, with 3 distinguished Marin artists. Welcome. I'm curious if any of you all use a computer in your work.
I do.
You do?
More for my promotional work, such as making brochures and business cards, not so much in my artwork itself.
And tell us a little bit about your artwork.
Well, I started out traditionally, landscapes, and they became more and more simplified. And gradually, I got into abstract work, doing fiber, this is fiber, fabric, or torn paper.
Mm-hmm. And have you been an artist all your life?
Pretty much, yeah.
Were you encouraged as a child?
Yes, and I took some time out when my kids were growing, but then I started in again when they were out off at school.
And do you have a website where people can see?
Yeah.
What is that?
It's joanhouck.com/joanhouck.
Okay. George, how about you? Have you been an artist all your life?
For about, I would guess, 60 years.
Mm-hmm. Were you encouraged as a child to be an artist?
Actually, I was a biochemist.
And
I changed. I switched.
And how did you have the courage to do that?
Oh, I just wanted to do something new.
Uh-huh. And was it hard to start?
No. I was in the Air Force and I went to night school.
Uh-huh.
And studied in night school. When I finished that, I went to UC Berkeley when I got out of the Air Force.
Mm-hmm. And do you use a computer in your work now?
Only to make photo images, to collage into my work.
And tell us a little bit about your work. It's fascinating.
Well, it's mixed media, and this particular piece doesn't have any photos in it, but I do use photos or any material that I think would develop the image that I want.
Mm-hmm.
This particular one is from a series that all has to do with memory.
Hmm.
Things, artists that were important to me, and things that were happening in the world when I became acquainted with their work.
Uh-huh. And how would one find more of your work? Do you have a website?
Yes, I do.
And what is it?
Just Google George Woodward Art.
Okay, we'll look forward to doing that. And Joan, I was wondering, would you speak to Denny's work?
Certainly, yes. Denny's been, she's a very popular landscape artist. In fact, Denny had a ranch in not Lucas Valley, and a lot of us would go and paint at her ranch, but of course Denny was the best one of all of them. And she's very popular, and her work is beautiful, I think.
And tell me about it. It's in oils?
No, you use acrylic, don't you, Denny?
Yes, that's correct.
Which amazes me because acrylic dries so fast, and yet you manage. You like that, yeah. Because you lay one color on top of another, don't you? Rather than try to blend them in.
Well, that's true.
But still, it's loose. Your work is very nice and loose and not too tight. And,
Thank you.
yeah.
Can you speak to how your art has either changed or not changed by virtue of this stage of your life? Do you feel more free or more inspired or less wanting to do it? Or
I think it's much easier, and I do feel freer. The three of us, live in the same adult retirement community, the Tamalpais, and we're encouraged there to do whatever we want to do, and we have more free time.
Oh, how nice.
Which is, I think, nice, and that helps.
How about you, George? Do you feel more inspired these days than you ever did?
Well, it's easier, but it's also more urgent.
Yes.
I feel it's quite urgent to get work done because I don't know how long I'll be around to do it.
That's true. That's true.
I want to get as much done as I can.
And do you all paint or do your art every day?
I try to do
there.
something. I try.
Yeah, in our building.
And so what advice would you give to senior citizens that are afraid to start being artists at this late date?
I found my best work sometimes came from mistakes that I've made. Don't be afraid to make mistakes.
How about you, George? What would you tell someone?
If you don't start now, if you wait 5 years, you will have worked for 5 years if you get started now. You start as soon as you want to, and you take it as far as you can.
Well, thank you so much for being with us. You're an inspiration to us to do art and to follow our dreams of what we want to do, and it's just gorgeous, and thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
As you just saw, several of us senior artists worked at other occupations during younger years because we felt we had to in order to support ourselves. We might have done art on the side, but it was not until we could no longer pursue our more lucrative occupations that we became full-time artists. What we once did as a sideline or hobby finally turned into a full-time job with lots of love and joy. The art just portrayed on the walls of my one-person show early this year, and those interviewed in the movie here, traveled different paths. Some grew up with sufficient wealth to attend art school at an early age. They had enough support to pursue artistic endeavors without another day job. Some taught art at the university level. Some still do. Some worked as graphic artists, illustrators, or commercial artists. They used their skills to make art for their companies and for others. Only 2 selected lives of relative poverty in order to paint and do their own thing. all now make art a priority in their senior years. Often they produce several works a week. Art supplies are at the top of their shopping list. Art shows and receptions are the objects of their entertainment and inspiration. Their works are exhibited in the multitude of fairs, festivals, and galleries around Marin and San Francisco. In summary, I insist that painters and other artists, including actors, crafters, musicians, improve with age. They get better with practice over the years. They are inspired by encouragement, appreciation, and compensation. Older is better.